Hi everybody, my name is Maya and welcome back to my channel. Hey, today I wanted to do a top 5 Wednesday, which is something that I haven't done in... Does anybody remember when my last top 5 Wednesday video was? Because I can't. Anyway, if you do not know, now you know. Top 5 Wednesday is a Goodreads script that is now being hosted by Sam from Thoughts on Tomes, and I'll link down her information on her channel and the Goodreads script link down below if you want to check it out and do one with us the next time around, or this one if you want to do it like today. So the topic for this week was the top 5 books that will get you out of a reading slump, and being as though I constantly live in a reading slump, I thought I would be kind of qualified to talk about books that have helped me get through those difficult and tough times. Anyway, I have 5 books to recommend for you to get you out of those reading slumps. Alright, so the first 2 that I want to talk about are actually by the same author, and it will come to no surprise because I have talked about one of these books quite frequently just in like probably the last video I uploaded. Also, these books are not in any particular order, so yeah, all of these are great. So the first book that I would like to recommend to you is Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. So I have been talking about how I'm reading this book, and I have been reading it for a hot minute. I started it last year and I put it in the back burner for whatever reason, but I picked it up again like maybe a week ago or so, and I have been reading it since. Anyway, I finished this book last week and I am thoroughly satisfied. It had been a long time since I had actually like finished reading a book, like physically reading, sit down and read a book, and this book did it for me. I think Rainbow Rowell's writing is just incredible. She writes in a way that it's like one line just leads you to the next one and the next one and the next one, you know? And also the characters that she writes are really, really lovely, and you just like them a lot. So if you're in a reading slump, totally recommend Rainbow Rowell. Even if contemporary is not much of your thing, you might actually like it because Rainbow Rowell's writing is great. The second book that I want to recommend to you, as I said, is by the same author, by Rainbow Rowell. Wanna guess which book that is? Probably not, because I don't think I've talked about this book much lately. But that book is... That's not it. It is Eleanor and Park by the same Rainbow Rowell. I picked up this book last summer and I literally read this like probably in 2 sittings. And I mean, it's a short book, but if you have been watching my channel for a while, you will know that I am a slow reader. I cannot finish a book in a sitting, but this book did it for me. It was great, it was amazing. Again, it's just a writing style which just keeps you reading, and the characters that Rainbow Rowell creates are just so lovable, and they will break your heart and put it back together. I don't know exactly how to describe this book, but it is like just beautiful and heartbreaking and beautiful again. I remember by the end of the book, I was like crying my eyes out, literally in my room, finishing the last couple of pages and just bawling like snot everywhere and all that jazz. And not every book does that. Not with me. Not that I am cold-hearted, but I mean, it just takes a little extra to get me to that point in time. I know I didn't really talk about Fangirl, but I didn't think it was necessary because Fangirl. I feel like this book is not as well known or as read as Fangirl is. But that's okay because I can tell you the gist of it. This book basically follows these 2, Eleanor and Park, and they attend the same high school, and they're both kind of outcasts. Like, the book takes place, I think, in the 80s, and Eleanor, she is just from a low-income family, and her family is like really messed up, and so she has a hard time fitting in. And Park, he is Korean, and he is the only Asian boy that he himself knows aside from his family, and so he also has a hard time kind of like fitting in. Anyway, they meet and they kind of begin to like each other, and you just follow them through their first relationship and being boyfriend and girlfriend. If you're in a reading slump, perfect. Now I am done with Rainbow Rowell, I promise. Now the next book that I want to talk about is Talking as Fast as I Can by Lauren Graham. This is more of a memoir, and I guess I can't recommend this to you if you have not watched The Gilmore Girls, but I'm gonna talk about it anyway. So if you have watched The Gilmore Girls, I totally recommend Talking as Fast as I Can because it's just so... it's so Lorelai. So I audiobooked this book. And it's actually narrated by Lauren Graham herself. And so just the whole experience of listening to this book it just put me like even in a mood to like read more memoirs and more nonfiction. The book pretty much follows Lauren Graham's journey to success in her acting career. She talks about growing up with her dad and moving around and then attending college and skipping a grade when she was in school and just growing up, going to college, doing life, being broke, getting a job, and finally landing on the Gilmore Girls and everything that happened after that. So if you have watched the Gilmore Girls, I really recommend it. It's so great. It makes you all happy and bubbly inside. You laugh. I laughed out loud. If you have not watched the Gilmore Girls, why haven't you watched the Gilmore Girls? Go watch it. If you haven't watched the show, I guess it's not as significant as it was for me. I guess it can't offer that pull to pull you out of a reading slump as it did for me. But it was great, and I'm sorry if you can't relate to this one, but I had to include it because I was in a dark place when I read it, and it was amazing, and it just motivated me again to even get into more like nonfiction stuff. So it was great. Now, the next to last book that I wanted to talk about is Bird Box by Josh Malerman. So this book I also audiobooked. If you have Hoopla, it's there for free. So you can listen to it for free if you have a library card. Anyway, I listened to this book last year. I think it was like around December, and it kept me in the edge of my seat. I hadn't read a like suspenseful type of sort of book in a long time, and this book did it for me. I listened to the whole thing in like 2 days. It was that great. So this story actually follows this woman and her 2 children. They are hiding inside a house without being able to go outside because there is this thing floating around in the air in the outside that if humans see it, they turn like inexplicably violent and they end up killing themselves and killing others. And so she is in this house with her 2 children and she doesn't know what to do because she's running out of supplies and she has to, you know, do something about it. And so her plan is to go over like this river, and there's a facility there of people that can help her. But the trick is that she has to do this voyage with her eyes closed and her children's eyes closed. And so it is very angsty and it is very suspenseful because you really don't know what's lurking around. The story tells itself from the very beginning when this was beginning to come up and they didn't know what it was, and some people didn't even believe that this was happening until the point that, you know, there's all these dead people and nobody knows what's causing it. Anyway, it is very suspenseful, it is very thrilling. Again, it keeps you on the edge of your seat the whole way, and I would love to see this movie. Like, I don't know how they would do it because the whole thing about the book is that you don't know what's around because the main character can't see her surroundings. So it would have to be like something really creative as a movie. I don't know how they would do it, but I think it would make a really, really great film. Anyway, that's not what this video is about, so let's move on, shall we? And now the final recommendation that I want to make is The Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer. I actually have all of these because I read them all. If you guys have watched my channel for a hot minute, you guys know that I have a lot of trouble with like commitment to like pretty much anything in general, and specifically to book series. I don't do book series because I just don't read them all. I read the first book and then I just don't go back to the second book or the third. It takes a really special series for me to come back, and Cinder was it for me. So this was the first book I read after I hadn't read in a long time. This is a book that brought me back to reading, and that it's why I'm still reading now. Seriously though, I read this book probably like 1.5 years ago, and it was just so good, so good. If you don't know about the Lunar Chronicles, basically what it is retellings of fairy tales with like this awesome sci-fi element, and there's some romance going on, and it's just so good. And the thing about it is that I'm not even into romance, and I was shipping all these people. Like, I was like, y'all need to be happy and fall in love. So it was great, it was amazing. And again, these series just it was just so awesome. I read them all and I just fell in love with them. I fell in love with the world. I fell in love with the characters. Anyway, if you're into retellings, if you're into sci-fi, Guys, this book's so great. The writing is great because Marissa Meyer, she crafts these sentences so beautifully, and then all the characters, except for a couple, they're really lovable and they're really great and they're just amazing. And also the villain in this series is amazing, Levana. Oh my gosh, I hated her so much. So great characters, great heroes, and great villains. What else can you ask for, huh? Anyway, you guys, this is my list for this week. I hope some of these books help you to get out of whatever reading slump you find yourself into, because they sure helped me. So if you did a top 5 Wednesday, please make sure to leave a comment down below so I can go ahead and watch your video and I can, you know, listen to your recommendations. So whenever I'm in a reading slump, I can maybe read some of those. Also, if you have read any of the books that I listed, make sure to just leave a comment down below so we can fangirl about it. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it and subscribe if you haven't done so already, and I will see you next time. Bye!